Hello and welcome to another video from alpacaguild.com. In this video we're going to be talking about shelters. Not this sort, we've discussed these before in other videos and we'll probably come back to them again. They are fast to put up, relatively expensive, but they'll last for years and they do provide shelter for your alpaca the moment that they're assembled. On this one you can even collect water from the roof. But they're limited in many different ways. They're quite expensive if you want to have one in every paddock and put them everywhere. They're quite small. If you've got a reasonable size herd, that's going to cause you some issues as well. So let's have a look at a better option. That option being trees. We're going to go and take a look at a number of different types of trees that we can use, including, of course, those that are perfectly fine for alpacas to be close to. We need to think about what they can and can't eat. Okay, let's go take a look now. Well, these gum trees here provide an absolutely fantastic form of shelter from the sun. The alpacas just love it. They've created dust baths underneath that they can roll around on. That doesn't seem to be affecting the trees at all, even though some of the roots as a result have become exposed. And it's a really nice dappled light. You know, the alpaca don't always want to be in dark shelter. They're not looking to be cold. They just want to take off the harshness of some of the midday sun. So this area here, it's just a few of these gum trees. I mean, they're beautiful to look at. And they're just taking the heat out of the sun, just creating a nice sort of blanket of shade underneath. And the alpaca love to settle down in this area, as you can see actually from the key areas that they've obviously rubbed away at the ground. So really good choice to put into your paddock. They need a bit of protection, of course, when they're growing. But one of the main things here is the alpaca don't seem to be chewing away at the bark. They don't seem to be doing any harm to these trees. Other trees they will, but the trees and the alpacas seem to work well together. Provides fantastic canopy. Everyone's happy. Let's go and have a look at some other options too. Come on, girls. Come on. Well, I mentioned earlier that, of course, one of the other advantages to the traditional shelter is you can have it up and being used within a day or certainly a long weekend. Trees take a lot longer to grow. We've had to put some protection around these trees so that the alpacas won't get to them. It's just a couple of steel Y posts and some thin mesh around the metal mesh just to protect them. But as they get bigger, we'll obviously need to build a box around them. Now they can actually look quite attractive if done well. So when you're building that box, we just need to think about the dimensions of it relative to an alpaca's neck and what they can reach in. But certainly while something is growing in its initial stages, simple steel post and wire mesh can be a great way to protect them from the animals. Okay, these here, we've got 3 of them here. That's so that we can actually create a bit of a sort of a joined up canopy, much like we had with those gums up there. These gums are called swamp gums. Now, swamp gums can actually live with their feet in water. They can essentially be within a sort of slow flowing stream, but at the same time they can also cope with drought. Now, in this particular territory, I mean, it's lush at the moment, but this time of year, this would normally be brown. So swamp gums are a really good choice because they can cope with all of those sort of conditions. And again, the animals aren't going to do any harm to them once they're grown. They're not going to do any harm to the bark. Okay, I think it's time that we left you behind and went to look at some other trees, isn't it? Where you can't get to at the moment. Not yet. We'll do soon. So on this hillside here, I'm planting a range of different trees. This hill will be given back to the alpacas in time, but I want to give these trees a really good opportunity to grow up tall and start to create a good canopy of sun shade. These are alders. They're going to get pretty big. They'll get to about 30 meters eventually. But there are other trees here that are quite a bit smaller. I've got some non-edible cherries, tree lucerne. Some things are going to be very, very fast to grow, start to give some benefits straight away. Others are going to be a bit long term. What this will allow us to do is to create a corridor through here for the alpacas. So they'll be able to get the lower part of this paddock, they'll be able to get that back, but the top half here will just create some fence lines to protect these, hence putting them actually in a more sort of formal line for that reason. But they'll be able to get between them and actually enjoy some of the shelter and then come out of it when they want some more sunshine. So in my personal opinion, one of the best trees for shelter is the traditional weeping willow. Weeping willow because it provides this fantastic canopy. It's nice and thick, it really does provide a lot of protection from the sunshine, but it also provides excellent fodder for the animals. Now alpaca, because of their long necks, will actually be able to reach quite high, and they'll be able to trim this canopy. They'll be able to trim it at a height that is typically the right height for us humans to be able to walk underneath. Now you often see in paddocks full of sheep where we've got weeping willow that the canopy is this incredibly flat level underneath, but it would be difficult for us as humans to get under. So, one up to alpacas on that one. Now this one here is actually surrounded by a lot of native trees. Here we've got manuka and carnuka, and they've really prevented this from growing particularly healthily. So we're starting to do just a little bit of forestry work around here just to open it up and get a bit more sunshine into the area. And that's already started to have the advantage of healthy grass growth. But ultimately this is, in my opinion, the best tree that you could go for. We've planted a couple of them already around the land, but they do take a long time to grow. So you need to be planning well ahead for that. But hey, planting trees isn't all about us benefiting from them. There is the saying that you plant a tree for someone else to sit under eventually. Now this area here, before I bought the property, had cattle coming through it. It hasn't done for 5 years, but when they did, it was decimated. It was a real mess. I mean, cattle will pug the ground, and it just wasn't a particularly pleasant place to come. And there was nothing native or anything really growing well here. But now the stream has got lots of ferns and other undergrowth that's all native to this area. And I really want to protect that. It's also important to protect our waterways from animals. Quite often we'll see livestock grazing in water, and all that's doing really is we're putting feces, urine into it. It's changing the pH of the water. It's unhealthy, and of course it affects other properties downstream as well. So if you have an area like this that you do want to let your alpaca into, be sure to prevent them getting to the water. What we intend to do here is to, using the steel posts, which of course are very versatile, is to put some fencing in that allows us to protect all of the trees and allow them to just enjoy the scenery without doing any harm to it. So all these ferns and other wonderful things that are growing here will all be preserved, and instead we'll just have the grass very well maintained by them, plus all this incredible shade for them to get under as well. I think this is probably my favourite part of the property. It's just so tranquil down here. Why not share it with our alpaca? Great, hopefully that's given you plenty to think of. Lots of different options to use trees as shelters. They do take a long time to grow. That is one downside. But if you can get planting now, then in fairly short term, you can actually start to create some excellent shelters for your alpaca to protect them certainly from sunshine, but also from some of the rain, at least until the canopies get absolutely soaked. They also really enjoy having trees around in their paddock. It's a natural product. It gives them something of interest. They like to rub up against them. Trees are good. Put some trees in your paddock. Your alpaca will thank you for it. Before we finish though, what's very important is to make sure that you're always picking trees which your alpaca are not going to be harmed by. That is, trees that might be toxic, either through their leaves or nuts or something they might be dropping. So check out the alpacaguild.com website, where we have a comprehensive list of trees that are known to be poisonous or toxic, either immediately or as a build-up for your alpaca. Very important to make sure that those trees are all healthy before you put your alpaca near them. Thank you very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll enjoy creating plenty more videos like this for you in the future. Thank you very much.